Hello, good morning in Vancouver. This is Dana Ritchie and Ruowen Huang, and we are going to talk today about something really unusual.
Unusual. Wow. Everything I talk about is pretty much unusual.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Well, I was thinking, I love this guy. I read his book about 15 some years ago.
Yeah.
His name is Bruce Lipton, and it's called The Biology of Belief. And I remember it was kind of like that, one of those aha moments that you occasionally have.
Yeah.
And I remember reading about how when a child is conceived, and starts growing, the cells basically bring over memories from our ancestors, from their mothers and fathers. Like as the embryo starts developing, it goes from it splits into 2 cells, 5 cells, 100, blah, 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 and the baby starts growing. So the theory is that we bring all the memories of our ancestors forward.
Yes.
And I don't know, maybe somehow it's a survival thing. I don't know, but he was giving this really good example where, because in Vancouver, we are so multicultural. So we have restaurants from like so many countries. And he was explaining when your ancestors, if they ate something like meat and potatoes and vegetables, your system might not do well with different food, like Asian food, or I don't know, any Italian food. If you didn't grow up on pasta, you might not really process it properly. So to me, is there a psychic point of view on this? Because how does that work? Like, it's sort of, it's not DNA, or is it DNA? And do you have an opinion on this?
I do have an opinion. I just try to see where can I cut it and then talk about it, and it would kind of make sense for everybody. Okay, so as a psychic, mind you, since psychic talk weird stuff, psychics start with soul. So soul is a conscious existence, like, go life after life and after life. So each life you accumulate habit or fear or things like that, whatever grow you into a soul that you may contain fear, you may contain like preference and things like that. And based on that, in order to overcome those obstacles like a soul accumulated, what we all do is we carefully study what kind of traits of the family or parents that we want to reincarnate. Therefore, we can have the task or have all this complication as a human being. So, you call it, sure. I would say, if you want to trace back, you want to trace anything, you got every evidence to prove like this is why you hate it and like it. But it have a lot based on a soul before you want to come in to become someone else's baby. They study very carefully about their parents, weakness and strength. Do they have things that can create a task for me, but also help me overcome this?
That is so interesting because I was just like, now it's popping for me. My astrology teacher of like the last 12 years, she always says that when you don't finish something in previous life, you bring it over.
That's right. It's always going to be that's right.
And then through the planets, that's how you land here. Like on the day you were born, you have like all the planets like Venus, Mars, and the generational planet like Pluto that they don't consider anymore. But all these things, she says, when you don't finish, you bring it over.
Yeah.
So that is kind of similar concept to what you are saying.
Yeah.
So what if that soul doesn't then, when you said they kind of organize and bring over from previous life, can they like get rid of stuff?
Oh, totally. I mean, that's exactly what you and me are doing, right? Or even aside from you and me, there's a lot of psychiatrists, there's a lot of, astrologer, there's a lot of tarot reader and things like that. What happened is when the soul planning their life, they don't just come in empty-handed, like off you go. I just send you a set of parents. What we did is we constantly planted help around us or along the way that give us a little aha moment, that give us a little bit clue, like, oh, what should I do next? Right. So, yes, there's definitely a way to overcome it, because in a psychic point of view, a test that you never overcome will always be your next test to come. So if I have a fear right now that's blocking my way, therefore I cannot really achieve what I want to do or make something happen, right? That thing is always going to be a barrier of your life. But while the barriers actually happen in your life, if you don't live in your own story and actually look around, you will start to see help are everywhere. They're everywhere. So once one person or one soul willing to deal with their fear and understand whatever task that's blocking them, they can eventually remove that task, remove that fear, remove that worry, and then start creating a better life. It doesn't have to even be the better next life. They can pretty much already see the evidence they are creating a better life this life. Yeah.
That is such a big topic. This one,
I know. You and me don't talk small topic.
I know. I'm just thinking, oh my God, this is when we get stuck in our head, and then
I know.
But really, that's how we were brought up, right?
Yeah.
To gain the knowledge, and the knowledge gives us fear, and the fear turns into anxiety, and before we know it, we having way bigger problems.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't really want to talk about this, but now for some reason it's taking me there.
Sure.
I am just always being a big believer that when the mind cannot handle it, that it spills in a body. So I always believed that when people get sick, that it's because the mind couldn't handle it. And this is not like black and white. This is just my belief, but I am kind of curious, what is your view on it from a psychic point of view? How do you see that when people get sick? What does that mean?
When people get sick, I say this, I've been doing a series of topic regarding to that. People will hear me always saying your body is simply the vessel of your soul. However your soul command, your body will reflect just the same. So to me, from a psychic point of view, sorry, let me have to clarify. I'm not a doctor. From my psychic point of view, if your body's getting sick, that is your soul is getting sick as well. So I would say look into your soul. Your body is simply react and reflect different illness. For example, if you have too much sorrow in you, your lung might start having problem. If you start having too much anger in you, your liver might start having a problem. So I would say once people's body gets sick, I ask them to look into what emotion that you are holding on so much that you refuse to let it go. So
do you believe that people bring weaknesses? I'm going to astrology today, which was not the point. But, here we are. It takes you wherever you go, right?
Everywhere.
So do you believe that these things like that the soul might bring some, because in astrology, you believe like looking at a chart, date of birth, that the weakness is brought from the past life and you have to overcome it in this life. Yes. So would that be kind of the same concept?
Yes. So eventually, if you look at human body, like you have to let go of your logical mind and you start looking at everything in a broader scale, then you start to realize everything connect together. Right. So even though your soul, if your soul carry forward from the last life, like I'm feeling sorrow, sadness, I just couldn't let it go, then you may naturally, when you were born, having a little bit breathing problem, or like it just, your lung just couldn't take too much air. But that just
you can overcome it in this life, right?
You could. But by bringing awareness that what's wrong with my body, what's wrong with my soul, what can I do to overcome it?
But that is huge when you think about it, because you and I probably hear every day, I know this injury is from my
I know
from my hockey. I know this injury is from my car accident. I know this injury is like 25 years old when this and that happened to me. And that's not really the case. I mean, reprogramming shows that over and over. You can, when it's old pain, that goes away. Okay, so that is very interesting.
But you must see the evidence, right? Like, even though people dealing with chronic pain or things like that, while they were doing rehab over and over, I mean, it's painful. And I'm gonna say it's the same thing while you look within yourself for the soul problem. It's painful. But then once you gain a little bit muscle, you know, you might fall a couple times, you might break your heart a couple times, or you might do whatever. But as you doing that rehab, it's like, I'm aware what is wrong with me. Now I'm going to slowly train my muscle with that. Like, eventually you must have the, you know, witnesses all the time. People get better. They get better. So that's same as their task. If they have a problem with that, by them constantly overcome it and even reach out, get opinion from other people, they then get the muscle for their soul, and then their body would react just the same. Yeah.
So this is very interesting. So what is your recipe? Because I reprogram it. So I just say go through reprogramming. There are 4 steps. Let's get rid of it. But I'm just kind of curious, like, because well, we state the issue, then we delete it, and then we create a new scenario, right? It goes to subconscious and your brain and nervous system and all that stuff. But I'm curious, like, so how would you like do it as a psychic if somebody comes to you? Like,
psychic, well, what happened is, as a psychic, right, when a lot of clients tell me and say, I know something, lucky for me, I have a sense knowing you don't really know what you're talking about, right? So what I do is, my sense will guide me to dig into, sometimes right away, sometimes take a couple minutes to dig into what it is that they are not sharing with me, or there's some pain that they don't even know.
They don't realize.
My job is really try to bring them to the awareness, to realize, you know, look, you had this sorrow you had to work with, you had this anger you had to work with. And then I would advise accordingly based on whatever organ or whatever part of their body have problem. There's always some exercise to go with it, like can help them blending into their regular life. Therefore, their soul continues feeling, well, I think I'm feeling better. Right. So I mean, my job is not to take their pain away, because for me, I personally believe by living through pain or work through pain, I also gain the knowledge of my soul. So my job is coaching them. What thing they do, then their soul will become a stronger, therefore command their body to be stronger as well.
And, you know, I think that this is so true. And I think people who are empathetic, people who are very intuitive, they need to seek like help that is this nature, because what tend to happen to all empaths is I'm seeing it more and more, and people, it's just unbelievable. They get more knowledge. To this client, that every time in the sessions, she starts researching scientific stuff because she's in medical field. And then she comes back with all these new fears. And I'm like, okay, we cleared the old stuff. So the new one, let's not bring it in. But that is what we are taught. Like, I remember even with my car accident injury, it's kind of like when the doctor tells you, oh, you know, you can not do this and this anymore. You believe them, right? And then if you're empathetic, if you're sensitive and intuitive, it goes to your system and your body, because a lot of empaths can manifest stuff in their body. So, I mean, the intuition is great. The empathy is great. But then if it starts controlling you in a negative way,
you should learn to let it go.
From the knowledge.
I'm gonna say one sentence I've basically have a big laugh about. I think once I heard a couple doctors talking, and then all they say is, when you are sick, please don't Google it. Like, Google is not your doctor. Like, go to the doctor. So, you know, I mean, I have a big crack on that, because I'm thinking it's so true. Like, we try to play our own doctor, and then we didn't really get all the medical, you know, experience and all that. So when you Google it, all those overwhelmed information, since you got no idea how to digest it, it's very easy to turn into anxiety, and people feel, oh my God, I'm so
and the fear goes from here up here.
Totally.
Okay, guys, I think we're running out of time. That was funny. Yes. We went all over the place today.
I know. But you and me can always talk.
So thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you next week at Ruowen's profile, and yes, and then 2 weeks from today back over here. That's okay, right. Bye everybody.
Bye now.
Yeah.